Immortality does not come cheap. That truth has been well shown throughout film history. From jazz drummers to ballet dancers, if you want to be remembered, sacrifices must be placed on the altar. Sometimes sacrifices as significant as love, freedom, and your own sanity. Antonio Salieri was well aware of this truth. Unlike many other similar characters, he offers up his sacrifices consciously. He goes on his knees before God and promises his everlasting devotion. He will resist the allure of women better than any man since Henry Fonda and the Lady Eve. He will take pity on the poor. He won't give up desserts, that's one step too far. But with everything else, he will be a model of virtue. This is the pact he makes to receive God's love through artistic genius. Hence the title of the movie, Amadeus, which actually means loved by God. After being welcomed into court by Emperor Joseph II, Salieri was under the impression that his story would end like that of Andrew Neiman and Nina Sayers. Sacrifice, achievement, satisfaction. That's how it's supposed to go. But Salieri's satisfaction is interrupted. And it's not interrupted by a saint whose sacrifices to God go beyond his. Instead, it's interrupted by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. There are few names so instantly recognizable. Even Best Picture nominees in 2022 use the fame of Mozart to make punchlines about a character's naive nature.
Everyone to a man knows Mozart's name.
Well, I don't, so there goes that theory.
But Salieri sees Mozart as a different type of joke. A cruel joke, crafted by the Almighty and his team of angelic support writers. Every time he reads a sheet of Mozart's music, he can hear divine laughter. The architect of existence accepted his offering and then responded by hitting him with a poorly mannered, obnoxious, undisciplined bolt of lightning. Or so he believes. The greatness of Amadeus is born from the divide breaking Salieri's soul. Mozart is the man he despises most. A world without Mozart is one where Salieri can sleep easy, knowing that his music will never be overshadowed. But such a world is also one where he never hears the brilliance of Mozart's music. Music that gives his life perfect clarity and belief in divine purpose. Like any great story, it's through observing Salieri's response to this divide that we can learn how to find the peace Salieri constantly denies himself. There are few words in the English language more dangerous than deserve. From the first moment Salieri sees the truth of Mozart's personality, he's captured by its two syllables. Mozart has no discipline, no honor, no restraint, no humility, so why does he deserve the talent to become immortal and not me? That question becomes even more infused with hatred as Salieri learns the extent of Mozart's genius and debauchery. Mozart sleeps with the girl Salieri loves, and his music only gets better. When Stanzi brings him her husband's work, the beauty overwhelms him. If it wasn't for the jealousy holding him down, you'd half expect Salieri to start ascending into heaven. And F. Mary Abraham expresses every emotion perfectly. Salieri considers this misalignment and decides there can be no other explanation but malice on the part of God. He writes music for emperors and rooms made of gold, but he believes himself to be a victim of injustice. Even in old age, after decades to consider the blessings that were given to him, he never notices the true injustices of life, even when they surround him. Everything is about him and what he feels he deserves. Salieri responds by taking the crucifix off his wall and dropping it in fire. The act is meant to send a clear message to his former master. If you won't give Mozart what he deserves, I will. Because Salieri worships music and has sacrificed every other aspect of his life for its sake, he's blind to the trade-offs of genius. Mozart hears the music in his head. The movie does an amazing job showcasing this. And then he obsessively works on translating it to the page. He can't focus on anything else. When he isn't locked in his room, he goes on wild escapades that are capable of muting the other side of his life. This is why he can't settle down and teach students or lounge around the house with his wife. Those activities can't distract him from the music in his head. Mozart becomes not only a slave to his primal urges, but to his own creativity. Salieri knows the extent of Mozart's problems better than anyone. The servant he sends to his household gives him full reports on his enemy's state of mind, and this information presents him with an opportunity. He could make it his life's mission to ensure that Mozart is healthy enough to continue producing music, because he knows there may never be another man quite as brilliant. Now, being as prideful as he is, maybe Mozart would reject Salieri's attempts to bring some stability to his life, but Salieri is never willing to help Mozart without gaining personal benefit.
Show me one sign of your favor, and I will show mine to Mozart.
After the death of his father, Mozart's spiral into the gutter accelerates, and Salieri uses this psychological trauma to achieve both his goals. He wants Mozart dropped in a mass grave and to inherit his musical legacy. And the plan works out remarkably well. Before long, Mozart is thriving about as well as this fella. The music grows louder in his head, the escapades become more extreme. Stanzi tries her best to keep the music on the page, but all of her attempts fail. Even the presence of his son isn't enough. Out of desperation and frustration, Stanzi departs with her son. And with no people left around Mozart even making an effort to keep him afloat, he collapses, physically and mentally. It's at this point where Amadeus reaches its thematic climax. 2.5 hours of build-up leads to a single scene, one of the best scenes in film history. Salieri watches Mozart collapse during a performance, and it's like he realizes that the well that's been keeping him alive is about to dry up. He hates the little creature, but he needs his music. So like an army commander, Salieri rushes backstage and starts barking instructions on how his rival should be taken care of. When Mozart wakes up and recognizes the composer looking out for him, he genuinely thanks Salieri for going to his show. And Salieri's first reaction to Mozart's rare moment of gratitude is to keep playing the game. He puts on an artificial smile, very Nightcrawler-esque, and throws out some "how could you be so silly" platitudes. But then he catches himself. Throughout the entire story, when Salieri is alone with Mozart, he never lies about his music. He lies to him about pretty much everything else, but he just doesn't have it in him to unfairly criticize Mozart's work for no reason.
Did you like it at all?
I thought it was marvelous.
As he looks down on the sick and helpless Mozart, Salieri realizes this could be his last chance to tell Mozart the truth. It's pretty much an I love you scene, but for musicians. Salieri drops the facade completely and tells Mozart, "You are the greatest composer known to me." A knock on the door interrupts the continuation of Salieri's revelation, but what happens next is pure cinematic magic. Salieri offers to help Mozart finish his Requiem, and perhaps his motivation is selfish at first. Maybe he just wants to complete his master's scheme. But once the two men get into a creative flow, something incredible happens. Salieri has spent his life comparing the differences between himself and Mozart. But when Salieri begins to work through his idol, he realizes that all of their differences prevented him from seeing the one commonality that trumps all else. They both love to make music. They dedicated their lives to it in a way few others have. They were given life by music, hurt by music. They were defined by music. So when the sun comes up after hours and hours of composition, Salieri hasn't even broken a sweat. This is the most fun he's had in years. He gets to play a part in making the most beautiful music ever composed. And the back and forth between the two artists is just incredible. It's scenes like this that remind me why I fell in love with movies. Completely exhausted from expending creative energy, Mozart asks to take a break, and Salieri honestly tells him, "I'm not leaving you." And then Mozart asks for forgiveness because he thought Salieri disliked him, and those end up being his final words, "Forgive me." Salieri opens the movie by shouting the exact same thing.
Mozart! Forgive your assassin!
The master plan only succeeds halfway. Mozart dies and is dumped in a mass grave, but Salieri does not capture his legacy. He lingers on and watches in agony as his music fades into the depths of history. Amadeus is a tragedy, a truly great one. But it's not a tragedy because it centers around the supposed injustice of our creator. It's a tragedy because Salieri had every opportunity to live a joyful and fulfilled life, but his pride stole that life from him. It made sure he couldn't live happily as even the second best composer in the world. He had to be at the very top of the mountain, looking down on everyone else. Now imagine after running into Mozart, Salieri went to God and prayed, "Thank you for giving the world this genius so myself and the rest of the world can enjoy his music, and give me opportunities to help him flourish as long as possible." How much more satisfying would his life have been? Salieri's struggle in Amadeus is so impactful because it's reflective of a broader tendency in human nature, the tendency to never be satisfied with what is. And that tendency is made much worse by envy. We can fall into the trap of thinking, that person ate everything and left nothing for me. The two men at the beginning of the movie subtly frame the entire story with that idea.
If you don't open this door, we're going to eat everything and we're going to leave nothing for you.
But life is not a zero-sum game. There isn't a single pie of material success and fulfillment. It's Salieri's perspective and values that hold him down. Now that isn't to say that we should be fully content with our current position in life no matter what the situation, but if we start to rage against the things we can't control, that's how one becomes a Salieri. Don't become a Salieri. If you enjoyed this video, check out this playlist for a whole bunch of other ones I've made of my favorite movies, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe on your way out for more videos like this in the future. Have a fantastic rest of your day, guys. I will talk to you soon.